Welcome to the stream, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, whoever you are, wherever you are, however you identify yourselves in this beautiful life that we all live. Thank you all for tuning in. My name's Tommo. This is the pre-race Chinwag, whatever you want to call it, for the 2023 Azerbaijan Grand Prix roll intro. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate everyone who's here and watching. Thomas, Ellis, Pablo, Sedler, Sanjay, Eva, Moon One, Charmander, Chronic, Halita, Christopher, Professor Z, Mark, Sam, Dan, Carlos, Ella, Kai, Vivian, Ali, Mir, ACS, Nathan, Jake, Hanson, James, Arthur, SDR, Raygun, Fee, High, Martin, Zetrox, Glooby, Pranav. That's enough for today. I'm going to in all of these streams, I try and get a bunch. So if you want to get your name shouted out, you need to be in the chat at the start, right? You need to be in the live chat at the start. So thank you to everyone who's joining live. Thank you to everyone who's watching after the fact as well. This YouTube VOD that is going to live on YouTube as just a YouTube video after this. And thank you to everyone who's listening, audio only, in your ears. You can do that. You can choose to do that. You don't have to look at me. You can go on Spotify. You can go on Apple Podcasts. You can do all of that stuff. You know, it's available on not numerous platforms. Okay, a multi-platform creator is what you're watching today. Where's Womo? Womo's out at the minute. Womo might come in later during the stream. Maybe we'll see. Thank you, Maximilian, as well. Finally, 2 stars. Big up. 25 months you've been a member. Mad. Max, thank you so much. £2 a month, gang. If you want to join, there's a join link down in the description if you're watching on YouTube. And you can give me £2 a month and get pretty much nothing in return. But if you want to support what I do, then I really appreciate it. But it's more than enough to just watch. All you need to do is watch and watch adverts, and then I earn money and I can carry on doing this. There we go. If you want to learn more about that, actually, I did a stream last week talking about the business side of content creation, YouTube, F1 YouTube and all that. So from my experience anyway. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, go give that one a listen. That's also on audio only and on video. But anyway, finally, we've waited for what's felt like, well, it has been 3 weeks. It's felt like longer, but we're finally back. It's round 4. And I put round 3 in the title, but I've changed it. Sorry. It's the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. We're back at the Baku City Street Circuit. I'm excited. There's a lot going on this weekend. We've got a track that typically delivers bangers. We've also got a brand new format that we've never before seen in Formula One. It's the sprint, but it's a different take on the sprint, and we'll go into the details of that. First of all, I want to get a poll going for you lot. What do you think of the Baku Street Circuits? So we've got 4 options on YouTube. YouTube, please add more poll options. That would be lovely. Maybe like up to 10. That'd be sick. Why not? Why couldn't they add it up to 10? Is it a banger? Is it decent? Is it or is it dead? Is it awful? What do you think, chat? What do we think? What do we think? And also, thank you, Kai Ivanov, for joining Friends of Tom. I appreciate it. Sorry if I look a bit red. I literally got out of the shower like 15 minutes ago. So, but I got all the graphics prepped beforehand, so they're all going to be perfect. I can't promise you that, but I'm pretty sure they're all going to be perfect this time. Main reason I was just keep Minton fed, but also Tommo is cool. That's fair, Jake. You know, it would be wrong of me to not emotionally manipulate all of you to support me by showing you a sausage dog that needs to be fed. You know, because it would be wrong for me to not utilize. I'm joking, of course I am. No, Minton loves the content. He's asleep at the minute, obviously. Duh. What do you think of the new sprint format? We'll get into that, Naf. We'll get into that. Don't you worry. It's all... We're going to go through the norm. We're going to go through predictions like we always do. I put the polls out last night. We had over 2,000 responders. So thank you to anyone in live chat who responded to the poll. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you follow me on Twitter. Also, because I post both on them platforms. YouTube community, Twitter, boom, boom, boom. Businessman doing business. Exactly, Professor C. Exactly. Do I think Fernando is dating Taylor? I wouldn't put it past him. Fernando Alonso can... He's got it in his locker, I reckon. He's got it in his locker. But anyway, right. Baku. Azerbaijan street circuit. You lot, 55% of you have said banger, 39% of you have said... 40% of you have said decent. Oh, it's going to... So 95% of you think it's either a decent track or a banger. And that's the thing, right? I know street circuits get a bad rap. And rightly so in some cases. But I think when they're done right, and Azerbaijan's got such a unique, because of the just ridiculously long straight, because it's all 90-degree corners. There's zero medium speed corners at Baku at all. It's all low speed pretty much. It's all low speed or really high speed. When you're going for that final corner, which kind of isn't a corner, but kind of is. It's unique. I still can't believe the first time we came to Baku was 16 or 17? Because it was European Grand Prix, wasn't it, the first time? And that was such a dead race. Yet every year since has been a world. What's been our favourite Azerbaijan Grand Prix moment so far? Because there's been some worldies. It was 16, that's it. Thank you, chat. 2016, first time we came here. What's been the best moment? Because there's been some... let's say. So when Vettel drove into Hamilton, that was jokes. Mate, if that happened, when Vettel bumped into Lewis, right? If that happened today with F1 Twitter, oh my God. Imagine the absolute nuke that would go off online. Ludicrous. Absolutely ridiculous. Mad. Kimi's gloves, yes. Kimi asking for his gloves and steering wheel. That was at Baku. It's a good shout, Carlos. I like that one. Hamilton, brake magic, of course. Got Mark Webber losing his... what can I say? His it all went up inside of him for that brief moment. Bless him, old Mark. If you haven't watched Mark Webber and his reaction to Lewis locking up into turn 1 with the brake magic in 2021, then you should listen to it back because it's really funny. 2018 Verstappen Ricardo, yes, of course. I still, you know what, that Verstappen Ricardo incident, not to bring up old wounds, right? But I'm still not sure where I sit on that one. Honestly, I'm not sure because I do think Max moves around a bit in the braking zone, but I do also think that, Daniel, that he was going for a space that you could argue wasn't really there. I don't think it's one of them. Honestly, I can't remember what happened. Did it get chalked as a racing incident? Because I've watched it back so many times over the years. It always comes up when we go to Azerbaijan, obviously, because it's one of the most dramatic moments we've had from this Grand Prix. And I think the fact that I don't know where I sit means that it must be a straight up racing incident for me. I think there's culpability on both sides. Do a poll. Yeah, good shout. Let's do a poll. Let's do a poll for... Let's bring up the old... Oh, Ericsson hit us. That was a good one. Which always gets... Roman never said that. Roman never said that Ericsson hit me. It was his race engineer assuming that Ericsson had hit Roman, which obviously hadn't happened. Okay, who was at fault for Max versus Daniel 2018 Baku? So was the fault more on Max? Was it more on Daniel? Or would you chalk it as a racing incident? I guess what I'm asking, how would you, if you were in charge, if you were giving out penalties, would you have given a penalty? Would you have racing incidented it? It's not even a word. Don't do this, lol. Look, I'm sorry, Bob, but it's. We could speculate on this. Is the good thing about us, right? In my little community, everyone who's here, right? We can speculate about things without it getting feral, This is not F1 Twitter, right? We can have differences of opinion, and it's fine. That's fine. That's life. That's normal, I like having differences of opinion to people because then it's more interesting to have a conversation. But anyway, let's get feral. Oh, Tommy or Matt, or it depends who's. Yeah, if it's Matt on the P1 admin, then it's probably going to get feral. But if it's Tommy, then probably not. So, but I love you both. Who was at fault for Max versus Daniel 2018 Baku? 311 of you have voted. 44% of you are saying Max, 10% are saying Daniel to 11%, and 45% of you are saying racing incident. So, I know it is since you use that word. Oh, fam. My God. 45% racing incident, 44% Max. Okay, so you pretty split down the middle between Max and racing incident. I definitely, I think it was very like, I just don't know if there was enough of a space. I feel like maybe Max covered it off just enough on the inside to not reasonably expect Daniel to try and send it up the inside. But there you go. It was a long time ago, but you know, these things stay in the old dome. You know what I'm saying? They stay in the old dome. Also, check out Matt and Tom's podcast with Esteban Ocon. Really good. Esty Bestie delivered the heat. What can I say? He seems like such a sound bloke. That's never not Tommy writing this. That's the thing. When you've got two people on one account, you can just like, oh yeah, no, that was Tommy. No, that was Matt. I'm taking no responsibility for that. But yeah, I'm racing incident. I've looked at it so many times and I still don't have a clear view on it. So for me, it must be a racing incident. If I can't work my mind out, 5 years after, then I must be sitting on the fence, surely. Right, anyway, boom, that's that poll done. Lovely jubbly. Okay, so what happened last time? What happened in 2022? Does anyone remember what happened in 2022? Because it wasn't the Brake Magic year, that was 2021. It was Max win ahead of Checo, ahead of George Russell. And yeah, Ferrari engines, you know what, this was a stage of the season again where Ferrari were looking, you know, in pole position. Matt, if you're still in chat, sorry mate. And obviously they're, you know, Leclerc's engine went pop and he was looking, was Charles probably going to win the race? I don't think it was necessarily like that cut and dry. Obviously we'll never know. But Max and Checo took the points. And again, by this stage, Ferrari was still looking in, which it's mad how quickly things change in a year, right? You look at how much Ferrari have dropped the bomb at the minute. But George Russell sneaking on the podium. I can hear a Minton scratching at the door. Never mind. And look, obviously for this season, there appears to be a team that is much more, you know, if Red Bull were close enough to Ferrari at the start of last season, you know, it was give and go, you know what I mean? Whereas now, obviously, Red Bull seem well clear, but obviously with the sprint weekend format, who knows how that's going to change things up, right? Who knows how that's going to mess it up a bit? But it was a good race last year. It wasn't one of Baku's best, but it was still a decent race. You know what I mean? Yes, the porpoising was. Oh yeah, man, I completely forgot about the porpoising. Yeah, this time last year, remember when Lewis's spine was just ruined by his Mercedes. A lot of drivers uncomfortable after that race. I think Ricciardo was talking about it. Carlos was talking about it. Carlos Sainz. I appreciate it, Leo. Welcome to the live stream. First time. Boom. Lovely jubbly. Yeah, it was, you know, porpoising, whatever they've done, whatever the FIA have done, and the floor changes and all that, porpoising hasn't been a conversation point apart from, remember Joe at Australia. You watch Joe's onboard and he's still really struggling with porpoising, which is pretty mad. When DRS is open, but I guess when DRS isn't open, you've got more downforce pushing the car into the road and therefore more likely to induce porpoising if you get too close and then it stalls out, blah, blah, blah. You all know how porpoising works, right? But yeah, Carol Baskin, stop it. Stop the troll. Why did you get the ad? Wait, are you still getting ads in the middle of a live stream? Right, so this happened last stream, right? Yes, when I streamed yesterday, people were saying they were getting ads in the middle of the live stream. But you shouldn't be, because I noticed after the stream there is like an extra option on YouTube on the back end to put ads in the middle of the live stream. And I don't think everyone gets it, but I know in yesterday's live stream, a lot of people did. You haven't yet. Okay. I don't think. I think maybe you were mentioning ad block. How dare you? How dare you? Ad block. How dare, that's 0.1 of a pence that I'm going to miss out on. Okay, cool. Right, okay, that's done. Boom. Lovely jubbly. We've talked about last year. Now let's reflect on where we sit today. Driver standings wise, Verstappen leads from Checo, 15 points ahead. And 24 points ahead of Fernando Alonso. Now, look, the best we can hope if we want a multi-team championship battle is that Alonso just keeps bagging at least a P3 every race, which I don't think is going to happen. But or Hamilton. Hamilton's only 7 points over Alonso, right? If Lewis or Fernando can keep bagging P3s, and occasionally Red Bull they're going to have off days, they're going to have mistakes, problems, whatever, and just can consistently, because the difference between P3 and P1 in terms of points is 10. The difference between P2 and P3 in points is 3. So as long as they can consistently keep up there, then maybe by midpoint in the season, with Aston Martin's massive ATR allowance that they're allowed till the end of June, maybe they can bring a big upgrade that somehow challenges the Red Bull. I don't see it, but I think that's our only shot, right? That's our only shot at a multi. And look, we can have a great season with one team dominating, as long as the drivers can compete. Now, obviously, Checo has a pretty good track record at Baku. He's good at street circuits. He was, from what I remember last year, his pace relative to Max at Baku was pretty good. It was pretty good. Why is Minton crying? Hang on, sorry, Minton's crying. I can hear him crying outside. I think Hannah's gone out. So, what are you doing, Minton? Why are you scratching the door? What's wrong with you? Come here. Come here. He's being a pest during the live stream, everyone. He's found a way. He's found a way to get on the live stream. I think it's because Hannah's just popped out, so he's. Let me just go full screen briefly. You're gonna get the intro again because it's a great intro. So I'm more than happy to flex my intro on you lot. There he is. See, sorry, audio only. I apologise. You can't see my sausage dog, but here he is, dog merchant. Sean, I'll take that, mate. I'll take that. I'll take being a dog merchant all day. All right. Good boy. Why are you being a pest? Why are you shaking? We're going to do the rest of the live stream because I can he can set up their hands free, you know. His bum sticks over the back. Look, whee! There you go. Yeah, we're going to have to. And we keep talking about, me and Tom keep talking about making Frinton happen. It will happen. It will. All right, one day, okay. I'd love to see them two together. I think they'd get along like a house on fire. Right, back to the overlays anyway. Stop trying to drink my drink, Minton. So, that's our best hope. Now, again, Checo, pretty good at Baku. I think, from what I remember, his pace was pretty close to Max's relative to how far he was off a lot of the time last year. Savo, mate, legend, gifted 20 memberships. My goodness, Savo, mate, you're far too kind. Appreciate it, man. Boom. Happy days. Look at that. Sava dropping the bomb. Lovely jubbly. 20 members. You don't get anything for your membership apart from your name is a different colour and your messages stand out a bit more. But I appreciate it. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. W's only. It's because of Minton, isn't it? Thank you, Minton, for encouraging Sava to gift 20 members. But yeah, so look, it'd be interesting to see if Perez can keep on pace with Max this weekend. Obviously, he had a bit of a stinker in Australia and wasn't able to make the progress through the field. I think he should have given that DRS, OP DRS as well. If you're at the front, you can't open your DRS, right? Because you're not within a second of anyone if you're out the front. But if you're making your way through the field, then having that DRS advantage should be exponentially more helpful. And Checo, I know there was, incidents and that. I feel like he should have got higher, really, given the car underneath him. But maybe that's harsh. But yeah, that's how we're sitting so far. Constructors-wise, Ferrari it's an L, isn't it? I mean, obviously the pace isn't that bad. The Ferrari pace is not that bad. That they are, I think, from the graphics I've seen and listening to way more educated people on the actual engineering, the actual performance side of Formula One, that Ferrari have just about been the second quickest car on average in terms of race pace over the course of this season, but we'll see. McLaren fifth is a great look. I mean, I guess they've consolidated, done what they did. Alpine being on six, P6 only on 8 points though. That's pretty peak, isn't it? I mean, honestly, what could have been, man? What could have been for Alpine? Self-inflicted as well. That makes it exponentially more difficult to handle. I imagine if Matt and Tom are still here, did you ask him about it and then they just cut it from the podcast? Because I mean, I can't imagine he would have wanted to talk about. So what did you make of Pierre pushing you into the wall? Awkward. Anyway, so that's where we stand. 3 rounds in, 3 of 23. Look, I know it's looking good for Red Bull from a constructor's point of view, but honestly, like from a fan point of view, do any of us care about constructors? I don't care about constructors. Maybe I'm just projecting. Constructors, maybe towards the end of the season, but do I really care? No. Like, if we get a good championship fight, but Red Bull run away with it with the constructors, I'm not asked, to be honest. If we get a dead drivers' championship fight, but it's really close in the constructors, oh, whoop-de-doo. Happy day. Yeah, towards the end, I'll care. Like at the end of last year, when Alfa Romeo and Aston Martin, they were like level on points, and I was trying to do the mental maths for the watch on the final race, and be like, oh, hang on, so who scored more? Like, I was pretty invested then, but I mean, at this stage, yeah, I don't really care. But anyway, okay, predictions time now. So I put the poll out last night. Again, just over 2,000 of you voted, gave your predictions. What are your predictions, Minton? You just always go for Hamilton because Ham's his favourite thing. I'm going to start with yours and we'll go with mine. Your predictions for the 2023 Azerbaijan Grand Prix are as follows. Boom. Race winner, 47% of the vote. So less than half of you went for Max, which is quite interesting. 23% Checo, 14% Alonso, and 5% of you. Now, I don't know if, did some Joe Ultras get hold of the poll? Because Joe's also got Worldy Drive, which, look, I've got a lot of love for Joe Guanyu, so I'm happy with it, but it's just a bit random, isn't it? Everyone seemed to consolidate behind Joe. So Joe's got 5% for race winner, and he's also got 20%. He's the winner of the Worldy Drive prediction. Joe Guanyu, big up. 14% Alonso for that. 10% Norris, 9% Gasly for Worldy Drive. Putting a tenner on Joe to win. Look, maybe there's more to it than this. You know, maybe there's something there that, you know, the people realise. You know, maybe a cheeky tenner on Joe Guanyu to win is not the worst idea. Good boy, look at him. Look at this sausage dog. Look at him. Glorious, silky boy. Stinker, Nick De Vries. I swear Nick's got it like every race in the predictions, which is a bit harsh, but also I've got to say, like, in terms of the weakest driver so far this year, I would say Nick De Vries has been the driver I've been least impressed with, especially given his experience. What are you trying to walk backwards for? It's like he wants to fall off. So 26% Stinker for Nick De Vries, 11% Gasly, 11% Bottas, 7% Sainz. Logan, maybe. I mean, Logan had a really good first race, and, you know, he did out-qualify Alex in terms of the lap time. I know it was silly that he went over the line, but, like, he actually did go quicker in Saudi Arabia, and that's so impressive, like, in the dry as well. Only second time in that car. So I've been more impressed with Logan than I have with Nick, I guess. That's what I mean. Worldy team, 38% Red Bull, unsurprising there. 17% Aston Martin, 14% Mercedes, 10% Alpine. And then Stinker team, Ferrari, take 26% of the vote. Again, no shock there, really. Alpha Tauri take 23%, Alfa Romeo take 15% and 12%. McLaren. Cheers, Will. Glad you're enjoying the actual live. I like to think whether you're here live or whether you're here after the fact, it doesn't matter, you know. And look, we're over 1,000 concurrent viewers. Is that? I think that's the Minton effect, isn't it? Good boy. Okay, cool. So they're your predictions. I've gone a bit different, not totally different, but a bit different to you guys. So my predictions are as follows: Max Verstappen race win. Worldy drive, I've gone Nico Hulkenberg. Stinker drive, I've gone Lance Stroll. Worldy team, I've gone Haas. And Stinker team, I've gone Aston Martin. And thank you, Miles, for joining as well, live for the first time. You don't think Joe will win? What are you on? I know, right? So let me explain. Well, I don't really need to explain Max win, do I? That goes without saying. Worldy drive, I've gone Nico Hulkenberg. And Worldy team, I've gone Haas. Now, Haas have the second most effective DRS at the moment behind Red Bull. Only just behind Red Bull as well. The Ferrari engine is quick. I don't think it's a slow engine. And, you know, I think the Haas pace has been good. I'm expecting Haas to be... I wouldn't be surprised if we had 2 Haases in the points. Or at least 1 Haas in Q3. At least 1 Haas in Q3. And... yeah, and Nico Hulkenberg's, you know, had the measure of Kevin so far this year. So I'm giving him the worldy drive because I think he's going to be the driver more likely to, especially with Nico's quali pace. Like, he's a top quali pace merchant. Now, obviously, there's big upgrades coming for McLaren, for Alpine, for a lot of teams. I don't know what Haas are bringing. Haas aren't typically ones to bring loads of mid-season upgrades, but they are now finally at the cost cap thanks to MoneyGram. So maybe we'll be seeing more upgrades. I don't know. I'll be which Q3? Good question, Carlos. Good question, Carlos. That's it because yeah. We'll get onto it when we talk about the sprint. Because that is my kind of one concern. When I talk about Q1, I can't just say Q1, Q2, Q3. It's like, which one? Is it the sprint one or is it the real one? So I've gone Stinker Stroll and Stinker Aston Martin because the main reason is because their DRS is whack. It's rubbish. It's bottom barrel, right? They've got like the worst DRS. Them and Mercedes. DRS effectiveness. I think theirs is worse than Mercedes. And yeah, I just feel like Stroll's not got a good track record around here. He had an absolute shocker last year. Didn't he? Like, he crashed twice in qualifying, didn't he? Because he was just overdriving. And then the year before that, he had his tyre blowout before Max did as well. So he's not had the best luck either. I don't trust Lance around a track like this, I'll be honest. That was it, yeah, crashed twice. And he did get his P3 in 2017, that's true, he did. But also that race was mad. So that came with a heavy dose of fortuity, let's be honest. But yeah, so I just think from recent history, he's been a bit stinky around here. So I'm going Lance. And yeah, that's my theory. This is a big DRS track, you know what I mean? Like, you're getting all your overtakes done into turn 1. So if you've got rubbish DRS and you're trying to make your way through the pack, then again, it doesn't really matter too much if a Red Bull qualifies down. Like, they're just going to be able to pass you with DRS because their DRS is so sick. But Haas have got sick DRS as well, is what I'm saying. Minton was a gymnast in past last. Maybe he was. Are you sleepy? Is that why you're just being the pest? Right, if I put you down, are you going to stop scratching at the door now? Because you were scratching at the door already. That's why I went and got him. Right, I'm going to put you down. Actually, we've got the Snuggie. Right, I've got the Snuggie here, mate. And actually, I think I've worked out, for anyone here who maybe used to watch my Twitch streams, where I used to do a bit of sim racing. Minton, don't go to the door. Come back. I think I've worked out a way to attach my wheel to this desk and use this monitor. You're ahead above my laptop. My monitor's there to actually do some sim racing. Maybe we'll see. But it is a bit of a faff. I have to like move loads of stuff about. But I could potentially do it. The Minton's literally got his nose under the door. Minton, stop. Come on. You're disrupting the stream, alright? He's just looking at me. Don't tell me what to do, Dad. Yeah, so that's my theory. That's my theory. We'll see what happens, okay? The chance of nothing unlikely happening in life is in itself unlikely, if that makes any sense. Boom. Ricardo's double overtake on Stroll and Massa. That was an unreal overtake, wasn't it? Damn. What's the Twitch channel, Tommo? It's called Tommo Live, or Tom with 2 M's Olive. Whatever you prefer. Okay, so yeah, their predictions. Boom, lovely jubbly. Also, Fantasy League. I haven't changed my team around yet. Still got Joe in my team from last week. I've got Hulkenberg as well. I'm going to keep Hulkenberg in. I think I am tempted to take out Aston Martin and Alonso because I really don't think they're going to be on it this year. I'm not sure. Not this year, this race, sorry. So, there we go. Yeah, Tom Olive. Exactly, Luca. Exactly. I think I'm going to just eyeballing it. I think I might put Haas in instead of Aston Martin and then use some of that money. Because Aston Martin are really cheap, though. So it might just be easy enough to... Minton! This dog, man. I'm going to have to go and get him again. I mean, I'm sure you lot don't mind that. What are you doing? Why are you like this? Right, can I have to hold you like a baby? Let's hold you like a baby instead, okay? I'm holding him like a baby. Because he's being a baby. You being a baby? Because mummy's gone out. That's why, isn't it? Look at him. Sorry, again, audio only viewers for all the disruptions in this stream brought on by my sausage dog. What can I say? Your baby carriages. You know what? So, Hannah's aunt and uncle have got a sausage dog, and they actually have a carrier for him because he will just stop walking like all the time. To be fair, with Minton, he never stops walking. He will just carry on walking. Even if he's tired, he'll just carry on walking. But Ollie doesn't, does he? Ollie likes to stop, and then they put him in a stroller. It's jokes. Right, come here. You go back on my shoulder because it's less on my arms. Actually, I might just close the door. Close the door. Close him in here. Right. You're going to stop disrupting the stream now, Minton. You're going to stop disrupting the stream. I'm going to put him in the Snuggie. So you'll be nice and cosy in there and you can sleep, okay? You don't need to sniff around the door. There we go. Right. Okay. Back again. Right, Fantasy League, yeah, I'm gonna have a look at this after practice, I think. After FP1. Yeah, because I guess the Fantasy League cut-off now will be sooner, right, on these weekends. So it'll only be FP1. After FP1, then you can make changes. But after the first qualifying on Friday, you won't be able to make changes, I imagine. So, Tommo, react to Charles' new song. Is that AI or is that real? I don't know. Okay, but anyway, we'll see. Right. All the teams. Let's talk about all the teams then, shall we? Let's reflect. Is there news? Is there much? Look, there's a lot of anticipation around McLaren, isn't there? Any McLaren fans in the chat? I'm sure there are. It is Charles. Is it a real song? My God, I haven't listened to it. To be honest. But is it sure it's not AI? I feel like it would be AI, but maybe it isn't. Yes, right. McLaren, boom, big upgrades, a lot of talk. Not the only upgrade coming this year. I think there's 3 upgrades planned. The second one is meant to be the most, B spec, big changes. There's fairly significant changes coming for Baku. The thing is, the difficulty for McLaren is that they're bringing this big upgrade and they've got one FP1 session to test it out. So that's where it's not the best. As much as there was a big break before this race, and you might think in theory that's good, and yeah, sure, it gives them time to get all the parts and all that. But they've only got one. If this is changing fundamentally the characteristics of the car potentially, how it handles, like they're gonna only have one FP1 session to get on top of these upgrades, compared to 3 sessions that you have on a typical weekend. And yeah, again, if they shine, I know McLaren are a bit worried about spares as well, because obviously, I guess so many of these parts, it's floor edge and side pods from what I have read that are the main focuses of these upgrades coming up. which is obviously very significant. But floor edge is more than underfloor and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, if they don't deliver, it's going to look bad. It's going to be difficult for them to actually have the mileage to make it work. But we'll see. Hopefully McLaren take a step forward, because McLaren and Alpine are our best hopes of more teams doing an Aston Martin and jumping into the top. And Aston Martin have proved it can be done. But also these upgrades are coming from, these would have been signed off months and months ago when James Key was still in charge. This whole new management layout they've got at McLaren, where they've got 3 heads instead of one kind of overarching technical lead. We'll see in time. There's some really good videos on the race, actually, if you want to learn a bit more about that. Talking about how that management style is kind of similar in some ways to McLaren's old failed system, the system that prompted Adrian Newey to leave and go to Red Bull, almost Jaguar, but Red Bull in the end. So yeah, I'm not full of confidence from McLaren, even though there's been a lot of buzz. I think expectations need to be tempered somewhat. You know what I mean? But we'll see. AlphaTauri. We'll talk a bit more about AlphaTauri later, because if you haven't seen the news, Franz Tost is going to be leaving at the end of this year, but we'll get more onto that later. As for the team, as for the car, I mean, Yuki's driving really well at the minute. That AlphaTauri car feels like probably the worst. I mean, I think average race pace-wise, the Williams has been slightly slower than the AlphaTauri, but Yuki's been doing a great job at, maximising the package. He's got 2 P11s and a P10. So, if you're in the worst car and you've got 2 P11s and a P10, then that's pretty good, Thank you, Diego. Appreciate the €2. Love your stuff, bro. Appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much. So, yeah, as much as... And look, obviously, fortuity... Yuki could have been like P5. If Hulkenberg had held on to his, potential podium, then Yuki would have got P5 in Australia. But obviously, there was a lot of non-performance related things that helped out, right, in that instance. So, we'll see. But yeah, considering where that car was in like 2021, man, it's such a downfall, isn't it, from AlphaTauri? And Pierre left at the right time, I guess. Yeah, he would have been... That Alpine opportunity presented itself, and he was right to take it. So we'll see. Yeah, he was very close to P10 in Jeddah, exactly. But and yeah, Nick De Vries just needs to step it up now. He's he said himself he doesn't want to be treated like a rookie. Well, okay, if you don't want to be treated like a rookie, then you need to do better, because he's been, I think, the worst driver so far this season. But also, he is a rookie. Like, it's going to take time. Yes, he's driven lots of different F1 cars. That's great experience, but he just needs to settle in, bed in more to this team. I think he'll close that gap to Yuki somewhat, but I still think Yuki will have the measure of him by the end of this year. And at the end of the day, Yuki's only got 1 point. Nick's got none. So he's only 1 point behind Yuki, even though Yuki's put in way more impressive performances, So we'll see. I feel like Alonso might win the sprint. We won't be scared to go full send. Well, that's one of the good things about this new sprint format, which we will get into once I've gone through all the teams. Don't you worry. Williams, I haven't heard much. I don't know, can anyone in chat, has there been any talk of Williams upgrades? I haven't, man, my lips are dry, man. I haven't heard much about Williams upgrades. We know that car's good in a straight line, and Baku is a very, straight line circuit. So, we'll see. I mean, you don't, you typically take downforce off your car anyway around here. So, but then everyone else is going to be doing the same. Everyone else is going to be running low downforce. And so does that advantage that they end up having in certain instances, go away? I'm not expecting too much from Williams this season, to be honest. I think they've already kind of written it off somewhat. Because at the end of the day, as long as you've got the financial backing to deal with the fact that you're not going to get as much prize money, then if you finish last, at least you get some more ATR time. So, their new low downforce wing, I mean, isn't that just their current downforce wing? It's always low. It's nice to see them not in last, at least. Exactly, Diavolo. Exactly. It's nice to see no team really there's not. I don't think there's a worse. Like it's all just a blob of teams. You know, there's not like, oh, you're just rubbish right at the back like the Haas was, like the Williams used to be. Like, it's nice, you know. You don't want to be stuck behind a Williams. It's a good point, Max. You don't, because that's a difficult car to get around when it's so quick in a straight line. The Albon train, exactly. Choo choo, choo choo. That's what I say to that, mate. Val said the cost cap is actually impeding their development right now. I guess, yeah, with the cost cap, it doesn't allow them to throw loads of money at the team to catch up. So, yeah, that's the kind of. But there's always going to be pros and cons to these things. I think overall the cost cap's the right thing to do, though. So we'll see. Choo choo. But hopefully it's a good track for Williams. Fingers crossed, because I do think it will be a good track for Haas. Again, I've already put Hulkenberg as my worldie drive. I've already put Haas as my worldie team. They've got the best DRS, the most efficient DRS behind Red Bull. They're right up there in that instance. I think the Ferrari's a good engine. I think they've got two very experienced drivers and Kevin's got a really good record in the sprint races as well. And yeah, what do you mean they don't? They do. I've literally read this from multiple sources that they do. They have the second best DRS efficiency. So yeah, I think they'll be good. I think they'll be really good this weekend. I think it'll be a good weekend for Haas. That is my opinion. I've already kind of explained why. So we're going to move on to Alfa Romeo, who, I mean, look, a lot of you think Joe's going to win the race and have a worldie drive, which would be sick. I just feel nothing about this team. It just screams mediocrity at the moment. You know, I think Joe's driving as good as Valtteri at the minute, but do I think that in itself? I don't think either driver's driving incredibly. Like, I just think they're just there. You know, they're just there, and they're not. You look at the step up that Aston Martin have made, and a team like Alfa Romeo, you'd expect more. Maybe, I don't know. But obviously, Audi. I do wonder how much of an effect Audi are starting to have now. They already own a quarter of this team. Audi own 25% of this Formula One team right now. So, are they already starting to enforce their kind of? Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they're going to wait until this team actually wakes up and gets half decent until they decide to put their badge on it. You know what I mean? But like, if that Alfa Romeo was sick, if Alfa Romeo had done what Aston Martin have done, then I feel there's no reason why Audi wouldn't put their badge on it next year, because it's a car fighting towards the front. If it's still just in the midfield, then Audi putting their badge on it, I just don't think that looks. That's not the look that they want. That's not the look that they're going for. You know, the only good thing about Alfa is Joe's fits and Valtteri's and mullets. Yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say than that, is there? But the mullet, the drag from the mullet, is what's holding Valtteri back. Of course, to be fair, I mean, you saw. I don't know if anyone watched the City Arsenal game last night, but you saw Haaland's hair, and that didn't stop him. And he's got like a mullet on steroids. It's just long hair, but that's kind of what a mullet on steroids would be. It would just be really long hair just at the back. Did you hear my tummy then? My stomach just made a big. But anyway, Alfa Romeo, move on. Alpine, yeah, all gone wrong. But apparently, Otmar's been saying they've been working overtime to get lots of spare parts. Boom. They've got upgrades coming for this race as well. Yeah, we'll see. I have more faith in Alpine than McLaren right now. I do. I think they're in the strongest place to, you know, and not just because of McLaren ahead in points at the minute, but I still think Alpine have got the more competitive package for sure. And yeah, look, I mean, I think Esteban and Pierre are two solid drivers. You know, Gazzy's got a pretty good track record around here as well. He got his podium, didn't he? And we'll see. I think that Alpine car, you know, they've got a good engine as well. I think they've got a good engine. I think, you know, with DRS off, they're one of the strongest as well in a straight line. So I think they've got a good power unit. Obviously, we can't compare because no one else uses it, right? It's just them. But it'd be nice to see another team using an Alpine power unit, which obviously if Andretti do get their way and get in, then that would be the idea, wouldn't it, at the start anyway? But just badge it as Cadillac, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to miss... Oh, yeah, this is going to be the first race without the Alpine as well, isn't it? That's true. They're going to have just like in the picture, they're going to have the blue back this weekend as well. So yeah, I think I Alpine I've had so much hope for so long, and it's just never quite got there. They've always just been that little bit off. But hopefully the upgrades they're bringing this weekend can make a difference, because that would be glorious. What are these tags next to the names? They are channel members, Papa. If you want to be a channel member, £2 a month, boom, down below. Okay, here we go. Top four now. Ferrari, grazie ragazzi. What can we say? So Laurent Mekies is moving. Has he already left Ferrari? Actually, has Mekies already left? Because we know he's going to take the team principal role at AlphaTauri next season. That's now confirmed, which we'll go into more detail about. I can't remember if Mekies has left yet, or whether he's leaving at the end of the year. Because I know he's starting the team principal job at the start of next season, but I wasn't sure if he was going to go to AlphaTauri this year and just, walk around and acclimatise himself. No, he seems to be still there. Okay, cool. I saw a Ferrari. Oh, okay. I saw a photo of him today in a Ferrari jacket. Thank you, Hamza. So yeah, change at Ferrari in that instance. As for the car, I mean, again, I think the Ferraris, it has on average been the second quickest car this season. It's just not close enough. It's way closer between Ferrari, Aston, and Mercedes, and then just Red Bull just 0.5% up the road, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot when you multiply that over a 60, 70 lap race, whatever it is. So yeah, it's hard to have any faith in Ferrari, isn't it? And obviously Leclerc, there's been rumours circulating, which I've talked about in last lap as well. Leclerc, rumours that he's having conversations with Mercedes. Leclerc's contract runs out at the end of 2024, doesn't it? So he's got all of this season and then all of next season. I can't imagine him being bought out of his contract, because I reckon that contract is worth an absolute eye-watering amount of money. I don't know what it is, but I can't imagine there's a cheap buyout clause in that at all. Given Ferrari, I think, have pinned their hopes on Leclerc long term as their present and future. But yeah, you got to say, if there's an opportunity for him to go to Mercedes for, say, 2025, if I'm Charles Leclerc and I've got to choose between Mercedes and Ferrari based off what I've seen in this current, as much as Mercedes have dropped the bomb somewhat, it's Mercedes. You feel like with James Allison back in charge now as well of the technical side of the car, I think I'd plump with Mercedes. I mean, I'd rather live in Maranello for sure. So maybe I'd go to Ferrari, but from a pure I'd pick Mercedes over Ferrari in terms of where I'd hedge my bets. For which team's going to actually catch up and be able to fight toe to toe with Red Bull. I think that team's Mercedes more than it is Ferrari, but we'll see. We will see. And as for Mercedes, yeah, I mean, James Allison comes in, he does the swap with Mike Elliott, and so James Allison is focusing more on the technical side of the car, and Mike is focusing more on the big picture stuff, which is the role that Allison went into because he wanted less of a stressful kind of high intensity job. Even though he's technically taken if you look at the Mercedes hierarchy, it's like Mike Elliott's gone up in that hierarchy technically, but it's put James Allison back in the place where he's been most effective at that team, developing that car. He's the man responsible for that W11. Like the 2020 Mercedes, probably the quickest F1 car of all time, and might always be the quickest F1 car of all time. We'll see. And I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, so James Allison used to be at Ferrari, and then I think it was 2016, his wife passed away really suddenly. So he moved to Mercedes because he wanted to be closer to home, and has been doing that job at Mercedes since 2017, I believe. But obviously, given all of that trauma, I think, and the burnout from that job, he wanted to take a step back. So he went into that more big picture role. Was working on like the boat project with Ineos and various other things, and kind of involved somewhat in the car, but not really directly. So he kind of stepped away from that. But from now, like there's a podcast with him on F1 Nation. I haven't actually listened to it, but I've heard some, some good quotes being pulled from it, being like, I think that time away from the pressure cooker of technical lead on a car, to this more big picture role, which was only 3 days a week as well. That's allowed him to, regain his desire and I guess kind of energy for that role, because it's such an intense role to have. So getting him back, I think, is a positive for the team for sure. So and it feels like it's the right decision by him as well, which is great. And then Aston Martin. Yeah, I mean, look, again, I'm not expecting. Just the DRS isn't very good at the minute. If they can improve that, then that gives them a much more, competitive advantage. But, as long as they can be consistent, that's the thing. As long as they can be consistent, that's what they need to be doing. I'm not full of confidence for Aston Martin at Baku, though, unfortunately. I'd love to say I am. I'd love to say this is Fernando Alonso's time to win, because, of course, I'm confident it will happen this year. But, yeah, I don't know. Imagine if Taylor Swift rocks up to the paddock in all green. Imagine. Thank you, Levs, as well, for joining Friends of Tom. I appreciate it. Aston's first big upgrade comes this weekend. And that's the thing, look, a lot of teams are going to be bringing upgrades, and we know from how Aston Martin, took their car from, slightly slower than the Alpine and McLaren at the end of last season to the second quickest car at Bahrain and at testing. One big upgrade can really change your fortunes, So, isn't Taylor on tour? Yeah, but maybe she's touring in Baku. I don't know, maybe. I can't say I'm one to... I don't overly follow her career, but maybe she is. We'll see. Yeah, Aston Martin, I'm not expecting much, but I might keep them in my fantasy team because they're quite a cheap team anyway. So, but I don't know the nature of the Aston Martin upgrades. I think it's like right now, we start to get the details and pictures of the cars. So keep an eye on Twitter today and tomorrow, obviously, to see what cars, what changes we're seeing to these cars. Because, some changes might be good for downforce, but obviously around a track like Baku, it's not going to be helpful. If it's a change to DRS, for example, then that could be really helpful. So we'll see. Incidentally, she'd perform at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium on the weekend. Boom, there you go. Confirmed. My t-shirt is from Edwin. So you know. And then Red Bull, finally, last but by no means least. What more to say? Not much more to say. They're going to be quick. They're going to be... Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's upgrades coming for Red Bull as well. Who knows? Welcome F.Biz. First live stream. Boom, happy days. Thank you for coming. Yeah, I mean, again, look, I think the anticipation is more around, can Checo actually fight Max around a track that Checo wasn't that far off Max's pace this time last year, at Baku specifically. That's the best hope we've got, I think, for something exciting at the sharp end. Perez getting ahead of Max at some point, and then seeing if we get a bit of all team orders. Because, it's one win to Checo, one win to Max. They've kind of shared the honours pretty much this year in terms of, if Checo wins this one and Max finishes second, they'll be pretty much level on points. So, has Checo ever beat Max on merit? He hasn't. Definitely not. Like, you look at Checo's wins at Red Bull, and Max has always had some kind of issue. However, I think there's been a few races. I think Saudi Arabia last year. I think Azerbaijan last year. I think Saudi Arabia last year, Checo was actually quicker than Max. Legit, he was actually quicker, and then he just got stiffed by that safety car from Latifi. Big up. And Monaco, Max was quicker than Checo. Come on, it was because Checo maybe crashed on purpose, allegedly. I think he did. And but yeah, I mean, it's. But can I be too critical of Checo for that? I mean, Max Verstappen's Max Verstappen. He's that good. So, You have to say Monaco was on merit. Do I? Max was going a lot quicker in qualifying if Checo hadn't shunted. So would have qualified ahead of him. And at Monaco, you can't pass. So, but there you go. I don't know. I don't get it, but I don't get his steering inputs, I guess. I don't get his steering inputs, but there you go. Right, so yeah, I mean, Red Bull, we'll see. We'll see. What will happen will happen. What will be will be. Right, let's talk about these extra bits then. Starting with Franz Tost leaving for AlphaTauri. I'm not going to talk about this too much, but I am going to play a short from yesterday's live stream. So that if you didn't watch yesterday's live stream, which you should watch that anyway, but if you just want a little TLDR in about 90 seconds, then at the end of this season, Franz Tost will be departing AlphaTauri. This will be his final season in charge. Laurent Mekies will be moving from Ferrari. He's currently sporting director at Ferrari. Also, there's other movement as well. There's Peter Bayer, who's moving from the FIA to become CEO at AlphaTauri. Very interesting. There's a lot of ways to look at this one. 18 years he's been in charge. He's what, 67? You look at AlphaTauri's performances, they've been on the downturn. There's all this talk about the team being sold. This could be just a man at the end of his time in Formula One. Live your life, enjoy your retirement, calm. It's a high pressure environment. But maybe there's more to it than that. Apparently they had an offer for 800 million that was rejected. Maybe this is because I have long believed that it's only a matter of time before this team gets sold. It feels to me like they are prepping this team, getting this team into a place where it doesn't feel like a Red Bull B team anymore. Franz Tost is the man given the responsibility to develop these young drivers from Seb to Carlos, Daniel to Max. If a Hyundai wanted to buy an F1 team, okay, we've got Mekies in, we've got Bayer in from the FIA, we've got all these new personnel, we're building this established Formula One team. It's plug and play, it's ready to go. When you sell a house, right? Oh, you give it a fresh lick of paint. You might change up the things that you've been meaning to do for a long time. Oh, we're going to sell the place, so we need to make it look good. Tost is a sign of the past, a sign of that team, and he's doing an incredible job. But if Red Bull want to sell that team, then bringing in someone like Mekies and making that team look like not a B team anymore, like its own standalone team. AlphaTauri always had an enforced ceiling because it was Red Bull's second. Red Bull were never going to let AlphaTauri or Toro Rosso be quicker than the A team, were they? It was never going to happen. Boom, there we go, done. Live stream my own videos. I know, right? What a fraud. Fake live streamer. So yeah, that's my feeling that I get, that there's more to this than just Franz Tost retiring. But legend, end of an era, been in F1 since like 2001. I think he was at Williams BMW, wasn't he? And then he got signed to Toro Rosso, and now it's like 18 years at that team. So vibe. But big up Franz Tost. We'll see what they do next year. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. But maybe I'm wrong. That's probably more likely, but we'll see. Right, okay. New sprint. Let's talk about new sprint, shall we? To end this stream. The new format. So, Friday, tomorrow, FP1 in the morning, as per. Boom, lovely jubbly. Then, Friday afternoon, no FP2. We have original, standard, regular qualifying Q1, Q2, Q3. That sets the grid for the race on Sunday. Lovely. Boom. Then Saturday is its own day. It's its own event. It's its own separate entity. Outside of Friday and outside of Sunday. It's its own thing. Think of it on its own. Qualifying shootout, which is Q1, Q2, Q3 qualifying again, but the timings are much more restricted. So, Q1 typically is 18 minutes. OG qualifying Q1 will be 18 minutes. Qualifying shootout Q1 will be 12 minutes. OG qualifying Q2 is 15 minutes usually. Qualifying shootout Q2 will be 10 minutes. And then OG qualifying Q3 is 12 minutes usually, but in the qualifying shootout it will be 8. So it's exactly the same as normal qualifying, but the sessions are a third shorter. There's a third less time. Now, we will see whether that restriction of time means that, because I'm not convinced that everyone's going to bother doing 2 quick laps now. Because in normal qualifying, you've got plenty of time to do 2 laps. Even if you hit traffic, you've got time to go again. You've got plenty of time to get 2 laps in. With the shootout, given that everyone's going to be out on track, it's going to feel the same in that instance, but there's going to be, like, to get 2 laps in might be too much. So I think the idea is that those times are shortened so that everyone is only setting 1 quick lap. Which, to me, I'm not convinced it feels different enough. I think it needs to be, if you're going to have a separate qualifying for sprint, it needs to feel different. I won't know until we watch it tomorrow. Saturday. But from what I can see, it's not going to feel different. The coverage is still going to be identical because you can't follow every single car. Like, the coverage is going to be exactly the same. Whether they set 2 quick laps in qualifying, because sometimes people bottle their first lap in qualifying and then they can only set 1 timed lap in normal qualifying. But it's only when cars go out on track at weird times or whatever that you ever get to see like a full lap. So I don't think it's going to be different enough. I think it needs to feel different. And this is why I still think that One Shot would have been better. And I hope that if it doesn't feel different enough, because I'm not against the sprint fundamentally. I know plenty of you are, and we're all entitled to our takes on it. I'm not fundamentally against competitive running Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because I think fans who go, they get more value for money because they're seeing more competitive running. I think there's more competitive stuff to watch. I'm happy with that as a general thing. It's just how that is applied, and I think that the way they've done it, having the Saturday as a separate event, you don't need to worry about, I might crash in the sprint, so I'll have a rubbish position for the race. The sprint race is not setting the grid anymore. I think this is a positive change. Now, do I think it's the perfect solution? No. But do I think that sprints are here to stay and they're not going anywhere? Yes. So I think there is no point. But also, I'm not fundamentally against them. I've grown to accept them for what they are. And I think there are things that we can do to make them better. But I can't honestly sit here and be like, I don't like sprints, because I don't dislike sprints. I think they're all right. I think they can be good. I think they can be better than they are. But yeah, so the qualifying shootout, I think the idea is that everyone gets 1 quick lap in. But again, I'm not convinced it's different enough, just in the way it's broadcast, just in the way it feels. Maybe they'll change. I'm sure they'll change up the graphics. They've got the F1 sprint graphics that are slightly different. And because the way it comes across on the TV, that's how 99.5% of people who are watching are consuming it through the TV. So those graphics are really important. Main quali on Friday is criminal. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because it does feel a bit weird having qualifying for the race on a Friday and then a whole day break till you get the race. It's not a break, obviously, but a whole day in between that qualifying session and the race which is being informed by that first qualifying session. I get that that's weird. But the thing is, like, if you want competitive running every day, I don't know really how else you would do it. Because I just think, like, FP1 Friday morning, fine. 1 practice session, I've got no problem with that. Why do I want the engineers to have bare information? Like, that just makes it more boring in the race. No, you want the teams to have less time so that then they've got to be smarter. It's more of a challenge for the engineers. I'm fine with that. I'm fine for 1 hour of practice. Boom, that's all you're getting. calm, fine. I'm easy with that. I ain't got a problem with that at all. Maya David says Q1, Q2 for GP after sprint, 1 lap shootout Q3. Yeah, the 1 lap shootout just in Q3 I think is an interesting one. I'd like to see that trialled. I think having Q3 as a 1 lap, forget sprint, just looking at normal qualifying, I think having Q3 as a 1 lap shootout, I think would be an improvement. I think it'd be an improvement. I do. Maybe keep Q1, Q2 the same, but then a Q3 is a shootout. Because Q3 is also the session where you get most of the shunts ruining everyone else's lap as well. So that's a nice way of getting around that. Just making it a one shot. But regardless, I think I'm just trying to think. If you had say you had 1 shot on Friday evening, I guess it would. You could do FP1 Friday. Let me know what you think of this idea. You might be awful. You could have FP1 Friday. You could have 1 shot qualifying on Friday evening, afternoon, whatever, to set the grid for the sprint. Saturday morning, you have the sprint race. And then Saturday afternoon, you have qualifying for the race. But then if you crash in the sprint, then you might not be able to qualify for the race. Whereas if you crash in the sprint in this system, you've got all night and all morning to fix your car. So is that better though? Don't crash then. I mean, it's true, Zelda. It's true. Don't crash. Easy, simple. Just don't crash. What are you moaning about? I prefer that because sprint is where we see crash. Yeah, because I just think that this system does it means that drivers can be ballsy and go for moves in the sprint and not worry too much about it affecting them for the race. Obviously, yeah, if you completely write off your chassis in the sprint, you're probably not going to make the race on Sunday. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, FP1, and then sprint qualifying Friday evening, and then sprint race Saturday. Then it would feel a bit weird. Would it feel a bit weird having like a sprint race and then qualifying after the sprint race? That's one thing I think would be a bit odd. Crashes is exciting, to be honest. I mean, there's a reason they're always in the replays, and we're always talking about Ricciardo Verstappen at Baku, innit? So maybe race quality Saturday morning and sprint in the evening. I don't know. Yeah, because you could have, but it would still be weird having like normal qualifying on a Saturday morning and then the sprint race after that. But the grid's been set not by that qualifying session, but a qualifying session. There's not it's one of them, isn't it? There's not one solution that ticks all the boxes. But I just put the sprint event on Friday. I think you're asking a bit too much of the Friday though, Chris, because I mean, so many people would miss that race if you put the sprint on the Friday. I think the races need to be at the weekend for sure. I don't know why we need a separate qualifying, to be honest. But I guess we don't like it when the sprint sets the grid. But then, if we're not going to use the sprint to set the grid, we need a qualifying session to set the grid for the sprint. And then, I mean, I'm glad none of us are mentioning reverse grids. That's all I'll say, because nobody wants that. I mean, maybe some people do, but not this guy. We couldn't do an F2 for. Yeah, you've got the F2s to account for as well. I'm trying to think if I prefer this or if I prefer. Actually, I'm going to poll. So, what do you prefer? Do you prefer? So, do you prefer the system that we're going with, which is Friday FP1, OG qualifying, Saturday quali shootout, Q1, Q2, Q3, sprint race? And then Sunday race. So do you prefer the real thing, or do you prefer my suggestion, which is FP1 Friday, then one shot qualifying Friday afternoon/evening, then Saturday sprint race in the morning, like morning first thing, and then normal qualifying after the sprint race on Saturday to then set the grid for Sunday. So if that all made sense in the poll, which one do you prefer out of those two options? Because I feel like that's the only. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the idea of having a qualifying session after the sprint race, and whether that would stop teams from pushing because then maybe they can't get their car ready in time for qualifying. Unless you have qualifying Sunday morning, I don't like that. I don't like that. The real fit, you're 50-50 pretty much, for crying out loud. But this is what I mean. Look, there's no solution that ticks all the boxes. There's always going to be a degree of compromise. So I guess we'll see. We will see. Right, okay, we've been going for an hour, 12 minutes. Chat, have you got any more questions? Any things to talk about while we let that poll crack on? Anything that I've missed? Any thoughts on F1 Academy not broadcasting the racing in any capacity this season? Yeah, so I've not looked at the details in that, but I have seen it mentioned that, yeah, there's not much in a way of broadcasting going on with F1 Academy, which doesn't make any... Because surely that's the whole point. You broadcast, these young women driving. The broadcast is what encourages people, young girls, to watch and be inspired. Surely that's the whole point. So if you're not going to broadcast it, like fundamentally, of course, yeah, it's great to support, these young girls' careers, but surely the fundamental point of having a single gender championship is to, make it so that we don't need a single gender championship in the future. This is what W Series always said. The founder of W Series herself said, I don't want this championship to have to exist, but at the moment there's nowhere near the numbers of girls getting into racing as boys. So if we can showcase women racing, girls racing, then that can encourage people, that can encourage youngsters watching to get in and get involved early doors, and then all of a sudden we've got a more, it's an attitude thing, isn't it? And if we don't see the racing, then how is that meant to have a positive effect? Would it be profitable to broadcast? I mean, F1 is raking it in. They can afford, surely if you're going to do the series, you support it, do it properly. Because if you don't, then that's when it starts to feel like, it's a tick box exercise, that they just want to be seen to be, we're supportive, so we're going to do this series, but we're not going to broadcast it. Okay, that's a bit weird. Do they actually want to make change, or are they again? Is it like you've always got in life? I do my best to not be skeptical, but when it comes to a big business, big organisation, you've always got to wonder, how much of F1 pushing environmental stuff and F1 pushing F1 Academy, and how much of that is just greenwashing, and how much of that is just to appear a certain way and not actually care. Because I mean, there's been some, you can read if you want, there's been some less than palatable reports about certain behaviour of Mohammed Ben Sulayem when he was in charge. And what can I say? I mean, there's still a lot of misogyny in the paddock. I've spoken to plenty of women who've told me that, and yeah, there's still a long way to go. What can I say? There's still a long way to... Where's Winston? Winston? Who's Winston? Owen. Who's Winston? There you go. Right, anything else? Talk about McLaren more? Do I? Is there much more to say on McLaren? I don't know. I like McLaren. I don't pull for any team, but there are certain teams I like more than others, and McLaren are one of the teams that I like. I like McLaren. I like Alpine. I like Williams. I like Haas. I like Aston Martin. I suppose I like Ferrari. You know, they're probably the teams that I'd say I like more than the rest. The others I don't really have an opinion towards, like, but whatever. Minton Churchill, there you go. Right, okay, I think we're done. I think we're done, everyone. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for watching live. Ivan, Bino, Mark, Pankin, Zelda, Peter, Motonal, Leo, Henry, Michael, Siddy, Jake, Charmander, NM, Tom, Liam, Gamers, Alex, Daniel, Bino, Rainman, Halita, Corbin, Zelda, Will I Am, great name, Carlos, Poppy, Whackim, Philip, Marcus, Jimbo, Formula Marius, Sekiro, your friend Kevin, Victoria Armstrong, SDR Raygun, Professor Angus, Salmon, Christopher, Henry, Bruh, Els, Pablo, Pancon, Eva, Ren. Appreciate you all taking the time. Subscribe, like, stuff. 5 stars if you're listening. Do all that stuff. Enjoy the sprint weekend. Hopefully it's a banger. Hopefully it delivers everything that we are hoping it will. Because whether you agree with the changes or not, as long as it makes the racing better and the product better for everyone from a sporting and from an entertainment point of view, because the two can live side by side, then happy days. But we'll see. Thank you, everyone. Ciao, adios. I'm done. Goodbye.